rainforests. Ever since I've been a kid, I've been fascinated by these rainforests and the special plants that grow in them. The epiphytes. What I'm talking about is the staghorns and the native orchids. We're in a rainforest here in the southeast Queensland, and what we're going to do now is take you through these rainforests and the outskirts of the rainforest and show you approximately 40 different types of native orchids, ferns and other plants that grow in these areas. Right, we'll start with the plant that everybody I think would know, the elkhorn. Here he is up here in the tree. This is a really top specimen and very popular with people who like to collect ferns and orchids. This fellow here would be approximately 20 to 25 year old. He completely covers that branch. He circles right around the branch. He has what we call here about 20 eyes. Where my finger is the eye. That's how we identify them. This bloke's got a grub in the elkhorn, and that is a problem I find with people. They're always calling me up to find out what is in their elkhorn. Now below it down here, we have a small native orchid. The little bulbophyllum exiguum is this orchid. It's flowered about 2 months ago, but the flower on him is about 1/4 inch long. It's a white with a yellow centre. He's a common orchid, and in the right places he will cover the whole limb or trunk of a tree. He especially likes the box tree, but this time he's on the oak. Collectors like him, but you have to keep him moist all the time, otherwise he dries out and dies. There's another orchid over here. This little orchid here is called the Dendrobium tenuissimum. He's the little skinny bridal veil type orchid. A large plant like this is classed as a large one, only develops one flower. He's due to flower in about October. He is not a common orchid, but he is overlooked also by the collector. You can see his little root systems here climbing up the tree. They set out a very long root system, sometimes up to 6 foot long, chasing that moisture, because they have to have that moisture to survive. Think of the old timer that fell down years ago, slowly rotting away. A patch of kingianum sitting here on the cliff, showing a couple of flowers, but we should find you something better later on to look at. There's the flower of the kingianum. All through the snake grass here, it's just covered with the little kingianum rock orchid. Going over on the corner here now to have a look at some large clumps of Dendrobium speciosum and some beautiful staghorns. come down here and have a look at these. Just over the edge of this rock here, there's a small clump of Dendrobium beckleri, which we'll show you now. Now that's a large clump of Dendrobium beckleri here. They call him the pencil orchid, that's his common name. He's growing on that rock. He's a large specimen and he carries a green flower, and he's not quite ready to flower yet. He'd be about a month away from flowering, although he's not in bud. This is a small juvenile Dendrobium speciosum. We'll show you a larger one later. We have to be on our toes where we are here because it's quite well known for death adders, but I'm just hoping that they're all still laying under a rock somewhere. I feel sorry for the poor old cameraman. He's never done it so hard. This is hard going. All around us here there's juvenile stags and juvenile king orchids. Here's another small flower of the Kingionum. My hand is lighter again, and we have shown previous to this a darker mauve. And as we go we'll try and find different colours and show you. If I can get through these water wilds, I'll take you down and show you some big king orchids down here. Here's a nice clump of king orchid. We keep this area to ourselves because we fear poachers come out here weekends and we'll pinch them. There's another little patch of king orchid, Kingionum orchid there. I've just walked up a big rock here, about to climb out, and we found a better specimen of the little box orchid, just coming into spike. His botanical name is called the Dendrobium amulum. The little flower spike you see in there now is due to flower in around about 4 to 6 weeks. He's got a white flower with a mauve centre. On this box tree I'm sitting on is a nice bridal veil orchid. Dendrobium terratifolium is his botanical name. He should be in flower, this one, but he's not. And I can't see any flower spikes on him. So yes, he has got flower spikes. We'll get a close-up of that later on. But these are a beautiful orchid and overlooked by any orchid collector. And by the way, the tree I'm sitting on below me is about a 90-foot drop. There's the spike of the bridal veil orchid. He produces a white flower with a mauve centre, and why they call him the bridal veil is because when he's in full flower, he hangs just like a bride's head gown. And my old mate here on the camera stand, he doesn't like doing these shots because he reckons he's got too far to drop. I don't have to say too much about that. We all know that one. That's the Asplenium nidus or the bird nest fern. Up this black wattle tree is a Dendrobium tetragonum. I'll get up and have a closer look at it. Now I'll climb this tree to be as close as I can to this Dendrobium tetragonum, commonly called the spider orchid. He's just showing a flower spike, but I can't coax my cameraman over here and extend his tripod to have a look at this because of a big gimpy bush just below us. But they're quite common through here, and a good collector's orchid also. We'll try and find you a better specimen of those as we move along. We're leaving the low area of rainforest there now. I'm going to go down to the little creek. We'll have a look around there for some other orchids and ferns, and then we start the big climb to the top. We're on our way down the creek, but before we go down, I'm going to go over here and have a look at a few little orchids I just noticed on the tree here. Right above me here is one of the best clumps of Dendrobium tetragonum I've ever seen. Very big leaves on the end, big bulb at the end, and a very large flower spike showing there. He's probably another week away from producing his flower, but he's one of the last. Now I can show you a flower just over here. I've just found the flower. Now there's a close-up of the tetragonum flower. The orchid we've got here is the Peristeranthus hillii, commonly known as the the bow tie orchid. He's not a very common orchid, but when you find one, you usually find a bunch. The limb of this tree has got approximately 8 or 10 on it. There's the flower spike here of the Ornithopsis hillii. He's approximately about 3 weeks away from flowering yet, and his flower is a yellow and green. Here's a little Christmas orchid here, Calanthe triplicata. The Christmas orchid throws his spike up around November and flowers right through December and into the late part of January. His flower spike would be probably 2 foot high, and he holds around 30 to 70 flowers, and they're pure white. He gets his name the Christmas orchid because he seems to flower around the Christmas time and holds a long flower. Hard work this, I'll tell you. How's that for a clump of Cymbidium madinum? This clump here would be probably, I would say, at a rough guess, a 25 year old. It's growing out of the hollow part of an old box tree. And there's his flower spike there. There's the flower spike of the Cymbidium madinum, commonly called the buttercup orchid. He produces a green flower. That is the spore bulb of the orchid. I'll open that one up and you can see the actual seed inside of the Cymbidium. And there it is opened up, and you can see the seed in the pod. It would probably have a couple of thousand seeds in there, and out of that you'd probably only get one plant that would grow and survive if you're lucky, if they strike. Okay, we'll keep walking down towards the creek now. We're heading down to a creek here. A couple of these to cross on this journey up into the higher rainforest. One of the many creek crossings that we had to use here to get into the higher country. But first I would like to coax the cameraman up this creek here and show you a few other little orchids that I know of up this area here. You won't believe what I found over here, hanging off this tree, a pteridifolium. We'll have a closer look because I can see from here it's got a flower on it. Now this pteridifolium here is approximately 1 metre long. And there's the flower of the pteridifolium. Unfortunately, it hasn't got a thick spray of flowers like they normally have on them. This little plant's probably still getting over the last big drought we've been through, and that does affect these plants, you know, in their season. But there's the little flower there. Now that's a yellow flower, but they do vary, as I've said before, from white. But that is a very nice plant, and we'll leave him there because I'd like other people to see that. Hands focusing on that leech making a meal out of him there. I've just seen quite a large tiger orchid over there, very low, so we can get a good shot of that one later. Here's that tiger orchid here. See how high he is? It's not often you see them that high. Normally they're anything from 10 foot to 30, 40 foot high in trees, but you do find them occasionally on rocks. There it is. Dendrobium gracillicorn, a fine specimen. He should be coming into flower spike. I can't see any there, but he should be due. While we're looking at this gracillicorn, brown orchid or tiger orchid, a piece of bark has fell higher out of this tree, and down here it's been the old cucumber orchid, one of my favourites. Beautiful little flower on them also, pink, yellow and white. He flowers fairly odd times of the year. You'll find him where he'll cover the branches of trees and trunks of trees in quite large masses, but he is, what would you say, hard to find. He's not a very common one at all. Now there he is. That's a close-up of the Dendrobium cucumarinum, commonly known as the cucumber orchid, and you can see why he gets the name cucumber, because of his little bulbs there. Now because we're in a good area here of orchids, over here on the tree there's quite a large patch of the orange blossom orchid. Well, here's that clump of orange blossom orchid. Sarcochilis falcatus they call him, that's his botanical name. Orange blossom to the layman. You can see his small flower spikes there. He's just produced a few flowers. In all the years I've traipsed around the rainforest and all the knowledge I've got, it's not often you find a clump of orange blossom as big as this. Well, we'll get a close-up of the flower and you can see why they call them the orange blossom. Now there's a close-up of the flower of the orange blossom orchid. You can see the orange lip inside and the white on the outside, and it smells beautiful. It's the cameraman's favourite. Now wandering up the creek, I spotted a little bunch of tangle orchid. We'll give you a good look at it and show you why it's called the tangle orchid. It's the same orchid again, Plectariza tridentata, the tangle orchid or tangle root, and I don't have to explain how he gets that name. You do find them sometimes in the right area and climate in big masses. He's in spike and he produces a little maroon and white flower. On our way up to the waterfall here, there's an old pine tree down the base with a few small staghorns and the robber fern. The kingianum everywhere through here. We're leaving the creek now and we're going to start moving further up to the top of the mountain and show you what we can find on the way up there. It's approximately another 1,000 feet that we have to climb. On this old mossy log here is the Cymbidium suave. The suave's common name for it is the snake orchid. There's an old flower spike there, and they produce a brown flower, and they flower around about November in this area here. And a very sweet smelling flower, and you can smell it while you're walking through the scrub. I've just discovered a piece of Oberonia palmicola over here on the rock. Now this little orchid on the rock here is the Oberonia palmicola, commonly called the soldier's crest. On the end of his flower spike, depending on the size of the flower, he may produce anything between 100 and 400, 500 flowers. This is only a small one, so he'd probably only come up with about 50 to 100 flowers, and the flowers on them are a little orangey red. Right beside me here on this tree, on this old oak tree, is the Dendrobium lingiform, or the tongue orchid, or the tick orchid. Now, in the right position, they can cover a tree masses, probably 2, 3, 4 foot square all around. But this orchid here, he doesn't flower till around about October, November, and the flower he produces is a pure white with a very small mauve centre, and smells beautiful as well. The cameraman's just spotted python around about 6.5, 7 foot long. What I'm holding here is about a 7.5 foot carpet snake. It's fairly cool. He's a bit docile at the moment. We pulled a few ticks out of him and a couple of leeches off him. He's starting to twist himself around my hand, as you can see. And this is a bonus for the rainforest area, but we love these animals and we don't harm them, and we'll be letting them go very shortly. Now we've got a long, hard climb to the top of this mountain here. I would say it's got to be at least another 1,000 feet up. And when we get up there, I've got some unusual and unique plants to show you, and whatever we can find on the way. We better go this way, I think, because the big tree across that track down there. Top now. That little journey took us around about 3/4 an hour, just on an hour. Very rugged climb, 1,000 feet up, and very hard going after our last rains we've had just recently. And now I'm going to take you over the back here and show you some beautiful scenery and some ferns and other orchids on the rocks. Well, we're right up on top of a big cliff face here now. We've had a hard struggle to get up to here. Actually, the stand on the camera just about trod on a small death adder, and luckily we managed to get out of his way and we never got a shot of him, but that pulled him in a gear. But on the way through up into here, I've walked past some different types of orchid, dagger orchid and basket fern, and on the way back down we'll show you those things there, but in the meantime we'd like to have a look at this beautiful view. Whilst Dan was showing a view, I found a little clump of Sarcochila Ceciliae, the fairy bell. There's a good close-up shot of the little fairy bell orchid. He produces a white up to a deep pink to a mauve flower. He's quite a unique little flower, orchid. You don't find him in too many places. But this patch here is only a small patch. I have seen them up to around about 3 or 4 foot square in some areas, providing it's in a good dry, high altitude like we're in now. Now this is an interesting little fern. Growing all over this tea tree is the Pyrosia confluens, commonly known as the robber fern. Wherever he grows, he takes over. Just around the corner here is the dagger orchid. And down over in the gully there's a lot of rainforest, but there's the dagger orchid growing in the rainforest, but some of it has taken off up here onto the rocks, because it will grow on rock. Now this is why they call him the dagger orchid, because the very sharp spine on the end of his leaf. He's not ready to flower yet. He's about a month away from it, and the flower is very hard to see because it blends well with the leaves of the Puggione form. The flower is a beautiful green with pink and yellow in the centre. Now, high up on that rock ledge is the Dendrobium monophyllum, or commonly known as the lily of the valley orchid. That's about the best piece we can find because in this area it's not real common, but it produces a beautiful yellow buttercup shaped flower. On our way through we just spotted another big clump of the rock orchid, the little Kingionum. Across over here on the top of that rock is the Drinaria rigidula, or the basket fern. Just here in front of me is quite a large clump of the Drinaria rigidula. Its common name is the basket fern or the shield fern. A lot of people use it around their landscaping, around their pools, and it's very handy for that. What I'm going to do here is going down to show you some beautiful old black boys. The wide-leaf black boy. There he is there. That specimen would be approximately 100 and 120 years old. They grow a few centimetres a year. Now here's a unique orchid that's hardly ever seen by anybody. This is where it produces from here. Underneath the stem of the orchid, it's got a small root mass of around about 3 square inches. They're just like white little fingers. This orchid survives mainly off the moisture in the ground, and he comes onto this oak tree here, and his stem runs up, and there's his flower. This is the Galliola. Galliola orchid's flower. What makes him quite unusual is every year he grows a different stem. When his flower dies off, he dies back, and then he produces a new stem and flowers, and that's his life cycle. Right, we'll move back up here, and I'm going over another gully, and I'll show you a couple of very old cycads. Now isn't that a pretty little flower on this vine? This is the final plant. This is the Lepidosomia perovskiana, or the old man cycad. Now this chap here, he'd be probably 3 or 4 centimetres a year grower. He'd be around about the 80 to 100 year old also. That's all now. We're leaving. There's a big storm coming over from the southwest, and we have to move out of here pretty quick. We've shown you approximately 40 plants. We spent a fair bit of time doing this, and we've done a lot of hard work, and we hope you enjoy it. Mm-hmm.